Okay. Welcome to
Welcome to the episode of the Black Business Roundtable. We are live in Oakland, well, driving back from Sacramento to Oakland, California. And today we have a special show introducing my colleague, a lady who's tearing it up on the East Coast, Tasemere. And second, Marsha Reeves Jews. Ladies, take it away.
Welcome to the Black Street Reunion 10th anniversary created by the publisher Donnie Glover of BeMoreNews.com. We are honored to host the Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Awards annual year and event benefit tonight at the newly opened Darker Than Blue Grill at 413 North Charles Street in downtown Baltimore. Giving that this is the 10th year of the Business Awards series, and given how this coincides with the centennial commemoration of the Black Wall Street Massacre in Tulsa, Greenwood District, it is only befitting to put this year's focus specifically on the milestones and all that has been accomplished over the past decades. The purpose of the Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Awards is to celebrate Black entrepreneurs and professionals, as well as people who support them, regardless of race. To date, Be More News and its partners have recognized over 18,000 individuals in at least a dozen U.S. cities, including Washington, D.C., New York, Atlanta, Birmingham, Tulsa, and Las Vegas. The goal is to help preserve little-known Black history and to promote entrepreneurship as a viable option beginning in the Black community. Part of the proceeds of this event will go towards the establishment of the National Black Wall Street Foundation. Be More News is a Baltimore-based Black news outlet established in 2002. In addition to Black business, the news site also focuses on public education, ex-offender services, affordable housing, and a universal access to healthcare. Accordingly, we are so very excited about this year's anniversary celebration, just from the historical context alone. A very special guest goes by Centen Dean of Divine Light on Maryland Avenue, slated Glover. I have witnessed firsthand the work that Divine Light does in the community, and to say the least, it is necessary. They help save people's lives from the destruction of addiction, especially amongst today's stresses of living in the pandemic. Divine Light provides hope to the hopeless in Baltimore. Hence, we are extremely blessed to have their support for this momentous occasion. Donnie Glover. So welcome again to the Black Wall Street reunion. I turn it over to Marsha.
good evening, everyone, and welcome to this year's Black Wall Street Awards. We're very excited about this, and I'd really like to take the time to introduce Tasemere Gaithers, who has spent a decade working with entrepreneurs in the nonprofit sector. Her focus is on community building. Commercial revitalization allows her to quickly understand the challenges that businesses face and provide actionable solutions that can be implemented. Before launching the brand, Tasemere freelanced her spare time giving startup advice to friends and colleagues. After a series of successes, Tasemere knew she had more to offer to the business community. In 2017, Tasemere launched the DM firm specifically for micro entrepreneurs and small businesses, coupling urban planning with business development and strategy. Tasemere's approach to business is global, with clientele reaching as far as the Netherlands. This approach takes into account how cities' culture, politics, and business work together. She holds a Bachelor's of Arts in History from SUNY Oswego, a Master's in Urban Studies from Long Island University, and is a Neighborhood Leadership alum and Marketing certification from the General Assembly. And I'm Marsha Jews, the founder of Marsha Jews and Company, and publisher and editorial director of WKIM Media Network. And it's my honor to introduce my good friend, Donnie Glover, founder of Be More News and the Black Wall Street Awards. Why this is important in Black Wall Street, Donnie Glover says he will tell you more about it, and we look forward to hearing his words. Donnie, take it away. Okay, Donnie. Well, let's see where Donnie is. So in the meantime, for those of you who have experienced the Black Wall Streets before, please come on. It's your turn. Okay. For those of you who have attended the Black Wall Street Awards, he has hosted them all the way from California, from New Orleans, New York, Baltimore, and it's just been a joy. Atlanta and several other places. It's just been a joy watching him with this whole idea and the passion that he has. And he even has finished a book that you see behind Tasemere, the cover, I Am Black Wall Street. And he's really committed to the whole concept of Black businesses and African American businesses thriving and building, and Black people supporting, and others supporting Black businesses. This is an unusual time during this pandemic. And I'll tell you, we need more than ever to make certain that we're supporting one another. Doug, I understand that you have your own show on Donnie's platform. Would you care to talk about Black USA and what's going on with the station?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for introducing me on my show.
This is your time slot. Sorry, I just bogart. Here we go.
But that's what it's all about. We share the air because we care. And we care for Black businesses, and the Black Business Roundtable, that is what we do. We highlight not only the businesses, but the psychological component. That is a key component in structuring a mental mindset for success. A lot of our people aren't structured mentally for success. That's why they aren't successful. The Black Business Roundtable has many objectives, but the most important and fundamental objective to create sustainable generational wealth is preparation. And that's what this network does. That's what these podcasts do. I had an opportunity to meet Donnie about 6 months ago and working with him on the contractor workshop. And our conversation included, how do we prepare our people for long-term success? Not only
Doug, we're going to hop back to you in a moment to finish that thought. Just put a pin in it right now for one moment. Okay. We have Donnie here who is ready to come on air.
Thank you, Doug.
Donnie, we're on to you.
How you doing? How you doing?
We are well. How are you?
Good. First of all, I just want to say special thank you to Doug. Doug, normally you're rocking this time slot, and we thank you for sharing it with us. Hey, Eli, the newest member of the team. At the next generation, the next movement. Hey, Eli. So
say hello.
Is that so? Eli talking up the street. We're down here at Darker Than Blue Grill. And so we're supporting local businesses and businesses in the community. Special thank you also to you, Tasemere, for driving this vehicle tonight. Doug making people dizzy with all of them vibrating cameras. And then, of course, Marsha Juice. We love you, Marsha. Don't look at Doug's screen. You'll get dizzy, fall out. That's how them people be doing. They be driving with a mask on. Thank God he ain't got no mask on. So we're here celebrating 10 years of these Black Wall Street Awards. And let me just tell you, Marsha, and I have Levon here. He's the transporter. She says she don't remember you. Here, hold the phone.
Okay.
You're live.
Good
Oh, I
evening.
know him. Hey, how you doing, Eli?
I would hope so.
Yeah. How you doing? It's been a while. How's
Yes,
business?
ma'am.
How's
Good evening.
everything
Good evening.
going?
How's everyone this evening?
We're wonderful.
Outstanding.
We're
Outstanding.
wonderful.
Tell them about the
Well,
event,
again,
Black
you know,
Wall
10
Street.
years of distributing these well-deserved recognition placards to folks whom are in the streets day in and day out, providing for themselves and making a way for other people's families to have a decent living. And, you know, what better way to culminate that than to have an event here this evening at Darker Than Blue here in downtown Baltimore. Again, we're going to acknowledge those in the community, regardless of race or ethnic background, because those who support us deserve our support and our recognition.
Mhm. You're absolutely right. And, you know, if we don't celebrate ourselves, who will? Right. And we need to
Correct.
make certain that we're looking and paying attention to all of these entrepreneurs and know that we need each other. And we
Right.
can't be light on that. This is the time, especially during COVID, where everybody has to have their hands out supporting one another, lifting one another up. It's huge. So thank you very much for all that you do, Eli. It's good to see you. It's been too long.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you all for doing your part as well.
Mhm. You're welcome.
All right.
Okay.
Give it up, man. Boy, this cat act like he don't want to give up the phone. How y'all doing?
We're just
We
great.
got a guest for you. Y'all know Paris? This is Paris from the Baltimore Times. Yeah, you
Hey,
love
Hey,
oh
Miss
my gosh, how
Paris.
you guys doing? Hello.
Hey, honey, how's everything going?
Things are well. Oh my goodness, how you doing, girl?
I'm great. Still standing.
Hey, isn't that amazing? Well, what's going on here, Donnie?
Oh, what?
Black
This
Wall
is Black Wall Street
Hey,
Award
hey,
reunion. So you're gonna go into Darker Than Blue and help celebrate.
that's right. So you guys are joining us by Zoom virtually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yes.
exciting.
It is exciting. It's exciting to see you. How's everybody
Yeah,
over at the Baltimore Times?
we are all well. And thank
Great.
you all for your support. We really appreciate it.
Well, we
Thank you
appreciate
for
you
your
all.
continued support.
Thank
Okay,
you. Okay,
you
baby.
back to Donnie.
Yes.
Lady, go inside.
Oh, so
Say hello.
Johnny just grabbing people
Hey,
just
good
as they
morning.
come
Good
in.
Hold the phone.
Oh, there he is, Michael Johnson.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay. How's
Good.
everything going?
I'm still on this side of the planet, you know.
So, you know what? Michael Johnson sent me his bio. It tickled me. He says in his bio, he was born in Baltimore, but he was the youngest of 11 children.
Something
Went
wrong?
to Oregon State University, has a daughter, Nichelle, and two grandsons, Noah and Caleb. He's the CEO of MEJ Group consulting firm, and he also appears on Radio One periodically. So, Michael, thank you and congratulations on your award. And we're
Well,
just
thank you.
proud of
Thank
you
you.
and all that you do. Because you
And
have
thank
your
you.
hands in all the pots,
Well,
all the
they,
pots.
I do the best I can. I just want to make sure I'm sharp like Donnie.
Boy, it's cold out here, Marsha. All right, so
Where's
look
your
here.
coat?
Huh?
Where's your coat? It's December.
Okay,
You didn't
this
tell anybody about the car ride,
what?
Black Wall Street in New York. The
Well,
first
that's
one.
when we decided that we had to do these awards. We went up there. Bob Ingram invited us up to the United Nations, and that was the first time I'd ever been to the UN, and it dawned on me that we should be doing some events at the UN too. And so when we came back to Baltimore, the CEO Business Cafe was one of the first awards we held. Also, Washington D.C. Big ups to Peggy Mars. We have you gonna let me show you who's on the inside, and that's really where
Yes.
the motivation came from, because you know, a lot of times we get stuck in our own 6-block radius. We don't want to get out of our comfort zone. We don't want to go across town. So we started going to New York, to Atlanta. The guy, Levon, he's been to Alabama, Vegas, Oklahoma. And so it's a team effort. Next stop, besides Toronto, is Oakland. We got to come out there to Oakland. So I'm going to take you on the inside and show you. Come on in. Black Wall Street. Don't be shy. Come on in. We got people coming in from all over the place. I got celebrities in this joint. And you're making me miss the finger food that I paid for. I don't even get to eat. Come on in, lady. Hit that lady to the left. There you go.
Go ahead, Donnie. Do
So,
you?
say hello. Oh, you got to say hi, Ricky. Hey, Donnie, you in there? They talk.
Hey.
Who's talking? Oh, wow, there's a whole lot of these people in here. They talking to you. Oh, what did it say,
How
Donnie?
you doing?
Oh, all of that. Listen. Oh, man, you want me to
Who is that?
get alive. I see, though. I don't know why Donnie handed me this. He always trying to work me. If it ain't him, that Charles Robinson guy.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. What's your
Who
name?
am I talking to?
This is Marsha
I
Juice
know the lady
talking,
up
but
to the
there's
right.
Tasemere and Doug on here as
I
well.
see her up to the right. I'm trying to
Tell
think.
us
I know
your
the lady
name.
up here. I'm
Tell
trying to
us.
see the guy that's smiling so much. I don't
Doug
have my glasses
Blackshear.
on, so I can't see much.
His name is Doug
But,
Blackshear.
season's greetings.
All right. Well,
That's all
would
I
you
can tell
mind
you.
telling us your name? What is your name? What is your
I'm
name?
Ricky Shackleford, comedian.
Oh, well, no wonder.
Now,
'cause
you know, I met her. I met you up top. You were on the Zoom or whatever, but well, I don't know why Donnie handed me this phone. This boy is always
because
trying to
that's
work.
what he does. That's what he
I'm
does. I don't know
charging
why
for
you're
this. That's what I
surprised.
do. They said they want to talk to you. They finished. Okay, y'all got rid of him real quick. How you doing, brother? Good. You want to say hello?
Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
There you go. That's how we
Who is that? Can you tell us who these people are? Or for them to introduce themselves? You have a nice tie on.
Come on in there, Mark Clark in there. I can't. I thought I could get to everybody. Oh, we got celebrities too. We got celebrities. Look, oh my God, you look gorgeous. Ooh, I know you wish you was here, don't you, Doug?
People.
Who was that? Who was that?
That's
Donnie,
Jay
who is
Butler, the one and only.
Okay, so if you could just tell us who you're giving the
I
camera
gave you
to.
the list after you
Yeah,
emailed me
but I don't
27
know
times.
these
I know
people. I
damn
still
well
don't
you
know
know he's
them.
on
I
the list.
don't know them. I don't know them. I don't know them when I see them. Does anybody else know them when you see them? Do you know them when you see? You don't know them when you see them
How
either.
you
I
doing?
don't know. Who's
Bless
that? Is that
you. Good to see you.
Denise?
Sir, I have brought you a gift that you can give to whoever, auction it off, raise some funds.
Look what Ron. Tell him what you did.
Hey, we bought
Hey,
the, how's everyone? Good to see you all on the network. It's a
how you
beautiful
doing?
thing. Good. So we bought the masterpiece edition of the Play Black Wall Street.
Wonderful.
For,
Oh,
yeah, just for the event so that, Donnie can
That's
continue to promote
wonderful.
Black Wall
That's
Street
wonderful.
for another 10 years.
Praise the Lord. Look at that kind of love. So we celebrate Black entrepreneurs and professionals, as well as the people who support them regardless of race. Thus far, we've recognized nearly around approximately 1,800 people. I got tired of counting. It was a long list going back 10 years. You ever try to go back and count up 10 years of names of people? And then don't even get me started on the people who ain't pick up their awards. Well, don't worry, because I've recycled them.
Yes,
I
you
took it
did.
right back to the awards man. Said change
Only
the name.
to say that, Donnie.
Yes, you did. Yes, he
I'm
did.
keeping
I know he
it
did. I know
100.
he did.
You ever get an award for somebody? They don't show. They don't send a proxy. They don't send you a note, and it's just sitting on your table for like 6 months. They don't want it.
And that's done, right? So let's go in and see Darker Than Blue and introduce us and acknowledge the owner.
Okay, all right. So I got to get back to the real event because this ain't the event. I'm missing my money. I got to get my money.
Okay. really
much.
They
important.
want to talk.
Oh,
I can't even say hi. Hello.
They want to talk
oh
to you.
no, they're inside darker than blue. There's Mark Clark. Hi, Mark Clark. Congratulations.
Planet. 20 years Donnie's been putting cameras in faces, and now the whole world is doing what Donnie started 37 years ago when he was 50 years old.
You're funny.
It's amazing to me.
It's good seeing you. Congratulations. Is that Charles Robinson with the mask on and the hat?
Yeah, Dave, they want to talk to you.
Hey,
What's going on?
how you doing? Give us
I'm
a few
good. I
words.
can hear you, but we are at the live event for BlackUSA.News on Black Wall Street.
Okay. So congratulations. Good to see you. Would you like to say a few words about Black Wall Street?
Yeah. Yep. Hang on one second. Let me get somewhere where I can hear y'all.
Okay.
Is that Chap?
Looks
I
like
think that's Chap. Chap also has a show on Monday nights.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I can hear you guys now. We're down at Darker Than Blue, 413 Charles Street, and it's a loud party going on, celebrating 10 years for BeMoreNews.com.
Wow.
great. That's a wonderful thing. Glad you're able to be down there.
Give us the inside scoop. What's going on in there?
Let's see. We got, well, if you know me, I'll go right to the buffet. So we got some fried shrimp, some mac and cheese with truffle oil. We got some grilled chicken skewers and some catfish.
Oh,
So
my
beyond that, I haven't even really went and introduced myself to any of the many guests here. But we've got
Where's our plate, Chap? We need a plate.
hopefully we can connect with Be More
I think you should have had him deliver the food to our
We have,
houses.
We have John Davis with Salvation Army. That's right. Director of Salvation Army. We got let's see, the Baltimore Times editor is here, Paris. I forget her last name. I feel like I may have saw Peter Francho, not sure, but yeah. Not my kind of party, but I'm just supporting. A little high profile for me.
Chap, how can we get some food delivered to our homes? Uber Eats, DoorDash.
Oh, you know what? Just text me. It's over at 9, and I'll run the leftovers all over town feeding people.
See,
That's
now
what we do.
Chap, you thinking this is a joke. We ain't playing with you.
Okay. Look,
We
if you
want
ain't
to
got my
deliver
number,
it.
get it from Donnie.
So we'll get everybody's order,
Okay.
and then you can just do
Oh,
do a
look,
drive by.
I'm not DoorDash, so I'll fix y'all plates. You just got to trust me. I'll fix y'all plates. Yeah.
That's great.
So what's going on? What are you guys talking about?
Black Wall
We're
Street.
streaming the Wall Street Black Wall Street Awards live. We're the virtual team of hosts.
Oh, excellent. I guess I'm supposed to be in there introducing you to people and showing off a little
Yes.
bit. I'll do a
Yes.
scan of the room, but it's loud, Pam.
That's
I'm telling you,
okay.
it's
That's
loud.
okay.
Hang on one second now. Let's see who's here.
Okay. And we know you know everybody.
There you go. That's the room right now. There's tons of people. And I don't think we've officially gotten started yet. Everybody's breaking bread and getting some adult libations. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us a what do you call it? A tour. And
Oh, yes,
we
ma'am.
appreciate you.
You as well. All right.
A guided tour.
Yep. I'm sure Donnie will get back on here in a little bit. We'll get back on in a minute. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys.
All right, you too. Wow. So Doug, what do you think? Why aren't you down in Baltimore?
Well, I'm up here in California, Oakland, Sacramento Bay Area, doing trouble.
Getting into trouble.
Good
You said good trouble?
trouble.
I don't know. I heard something different.
Well, our sponsor, Magnolia Engineering and Construction,
Oh, wow.
she had just put on an event for a scholarship fund for the Women's Council to
Wow.
raise money for scholarships, and they did. This was the best year they've ever had.
Oh,
So
that's
we're.
wonderful.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can go on my Facebook page and LinkedIn, and they raised um, X amount of dollars to give over 10 students scholarships for school. So it's important that we educate our people with our businesses, and what and with our businesses, have events at Christmas and summertime to raise and have the proceeds go to those students to pay for those college books
Right.
and room and
Right.
board. Because at the end of the day, we have the our challenge is our people are owing so much money when they
Mm-hmm.
graduate from school. Some of them are
Mm-hmm.
thinking of doing other opportunities, going to trade schools and not coming out of high school and not going into college, but
Right.
getting a trade so they can afford to pay for tuition. I know my daughter, she got a scholarship, and she still is owing in the high five digits getting
Mm-hmm.
out of college. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I want to stress to the audience out here today is generational wealth.
Yes.
And white people, don't feel bad. Don't get mad at me because I'm telling the truth. But generational wealth for people who are not black, and specifically white people, and specifically in the United States, has been on the backs of our parents, of our grandparents, of our great great grandparents. When you are able to pocket free labor
Mm-hmm.
money for hundreds of years, then when the jig is up and somebody confronts you on that, and you say, well, you guys need to get over this. It's not get over this. You can't get over 400 years of uh, giving the wealth that we should have been getting for the work that we had performed and done to make this nation the most powerful nation in the world. Then you're mad at us for saying, well, you guys need to just get over that and move forward. Well, how about we get interest on the money that you basically got free from the labor from people who you brought here who didn't want to come here? First off, second off, we can never get over that. That's money is, I'm gonna say, is lost, but that money needs to be recouped one way or the other. The disparity study in the city of Oakland demonstrated, and Mason Tillman, Dr. Eleanor Ramsey, the disparity study that was done in 2017 clearly indicated that Oakland only spends less than 6 cents out of every dollar out of $450 million a year. 86 cents of every dollar government contract in the city of Oakland goes to white men. So you couple that with 400 years of free labor. How are we ever going to catch up?
Right. We can't. You're not
Yeah,
going to catch up. You have to stand in place and make what you have in place to go forward. Because you can't do a
exactly.
thing and ain't nobody going to give you nothing behind it.
And
Nothing. They don't want to give you nothing going forward in many cases. So we have to be very clear about how we do. And I think one of the things that's really important here for the Black Wall Street concept is that black businesses support black businesses, black people support black businesses. We're growing and educating one another. This is huge. And sometimes people look at I know particularly because I got something to say. I always have some kind of commentary. But the reality is that everything isn't fair. You know, we want just what's fair. And the fact that that there are too many white people, particularly conservative Trumpsters, who are white people who are more white supremacists than they are anything else. And they've carried that anger and that hatred for generations from the time they came over here killing all the brown people who were here, the Native Americans. So we have some real history here. You know, this woman is in a cotton field praying to God behind me. And it's those kinds of pictures that I keep because I don't want to forget, because there are still too many of us who are now penalized, who are in prison, who are treated as though they are slave labor. And we have to deal with that. The sentencing is different. The way that they handle the police and how they deal with that, and it all impacts our families. You start talking about the trauma. We haven't even talked about trauma. And while I know this is a celebration, Black Wall Street was burned down, bombed. Philadelphia was bombed. While and how do you even reconcile that? How do you say that that's okay? That get over it. You know, the Jewish people don't get over Germany. They're not going to forget Auschwitz. We don't need to forget anything. What we need to be doing is thinking about how we can work better together and how we can build and help build our businesses and support our businesses. And support, when you sit down and you look at all these designers and all these people who are building things and folks are trying to steal from us, we have to support our own and be, as Donnie says, unapologetic about it. This is the time, this is 2021. We're going into 2022. We need to make certain that we have the banks and the financial institutions that are being managed and owned by people who look like us. We need to have businesses where we know that you can always expect somebody with melanin in their skin to come and support and to help you build your business. We have so much, we're so busy trying to party. We need to be dealing with economic development. We need to be buying up blocks and blocks. That's what people are doing across this country that don't look like us. And that's what we need to be doing. And I'm on this stump right now, but I'll tell you something. We have to do a real paradigm shift. 2022, we all should have that whole time from now to January 1 should be a real time for all of us to do some serious reflection, to sit down and look within of how we can help build our community wherever your community is. We have all these cities of people that are involved from the West Coast to the East Coast, some South. Donnie's got them all lined up. Then we need to be building each one of those cities and empowering the people there to be able to be employed and to be able to be successful. So, Doug, I know that I've been talking your time up. You want to share with us what you think? And we're going to find Donnie because we got to get this awards program going. Thank you all for listening. And we will be right back with Donnie to kick off our awards program. Doug, did you want to say anything before we take a break? Tasemere, did you want to say anything before we take a break?
I wanted to just add to that. I had a really good discussion earlier this week about Black folks. Oh,
Marsha, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Marsha?
Yes.
Yes.
I can hear you.
I would like to say this we have got to stop fighting each other. We have got to start working together. It's by design that people and the Trumpster people and white people, they like when Black people fight because we lose sight and focus on what's the prize, and that's economic empowerment and economic development. So those of you who are true
think
I
Doug
think
is
we lost
driving.
Doug for a
Yeah, I think he's
second, but
driving.
he
So go
will.
ahead, Tasemere.
I was saying earlier that I had a conversation with a gentleman that's going to be on the show on Saturday, the Blackout Live from New York. And what we were talking about is how we need to also, in addition to doing all the work that we're doing, we need to also start putting our money where our mouths are and start investing in Black companies, start getting seats at the table of these multi-billion companies. We need to pull our money together and start getting some shares. So we don't have to keep going and asking. We can start demanding with our money in many different ways of how to start thinking about how to do that, right? Because we talked about the prison system, and one thing that I know is that policing and prison is directly correlated to slavery. Don't let anybody tell you any differently. The whole police institution of policing came from keeping Black folks enslaved. That's even how the police department came to be. So when we're thinking about how we're going to make meaningful impact, is how do you change something that had such a horrific beginning to try to get in there and change the institution of that. One of the ways that we can do that is we can start buying back some of the prisons. You know, we can go and say we want to purchase X amount of shares in X prison because it is an economic generator, right? Instead of always going and pleading for people to treat us better, if we owned the prison, we can enforce policy at a level that, you know, we have direct influence there. So I think that we need to also start thinking about how we can strategically take over, because we're not going to get it by just asking. We have to be radical and think outside of the box. And we have a lot of Black folks that have a lot of money lingering around, that if we got a few of these celebrities that are investing in other places and spaces, if they decided we're going to buy back these prisons, that would be one way to start changing the
That's
criminal justice
interesting.
system if we owned the prison system, right? So we owned
Turn
it.
them into colleges.
We can do what we want with it at a very high level. You know, we just started buying stuff because people respect you when you have ownership. So we had the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's and the whatever and the whomever pooling their money together for a few $1,000,000 and purchase the prison as like just a beta test. I'm sure you would drastically see the difference of how that prison is ran, how inmates are treated, how sentencing happens, what's going on there. You would see a major shift in how it is operated. And I think that that's an interesting thing, that we need to just start buying stuff.
I agree. You know, I think too often we worry about we don't even see ourselves there, right? And so we have to start seeing ourselves in these places where these people are making decisions, and how people are growing and developing. And we can't make it light. We can't take it lightly. We can't dismiss it. The numbers speak for themselves. The problems are still broad. You know, you've got kids shooting up schools. We've got so much madness that's going on around us. We've got our communities, our Black communities, we're killing each other. So when people are going through all these different types of traumas, having all these different types of experience, and they're walking in fear, and they have all this pain, and they've lost members of their family and friends, you know, we have to abate that situation. And we need to have the leadership running our institutions and running our government agencies that really see the problem and are here to work with us to be able to create solutions. So I don't know. I just it's been far too long, and the numbers in Baltimore are high, and in several other cities. We really and the majority of those people that we're seeing that are being lost in the street are our children, and it's really frightening that we're at that point. It's like being at the OK Corral, and it's not okay. It's just not okay. So I'm going to dash and see if I can find Donnie, so that we can get Dr. Draper on the line and start our awards program. So I'm going to leave it with you, and
Perfect.
I will be back in a moment.
Okay. Hey, Doug, we have you back from Oakland. Doug from Oakland is here. We lost you for a moment.
I missed the sale. I missed the sale.
A seal?
Yeah, telephone, the cell tower.
Oh, okay.
Signal, the cells that get the signal to the phone.
Yes. I thought you were saying a sell, like missing out on making a deal, some money or something. This is Black Wall Street. We got to be economically driven, focused, centered. So I was saying Doug is making a sale.
Well, it sounds like you have your hands full. How old is that baby?
So my co-host that might be coming back on in a bit, his name is Elijah. He is 10 months. He said hi. And he is learning all about the impact that Black folks have had on the world, basically. His dad is from the Ivory Coast, so he's getting different perspectives, like an African perspective and an African American perspective, and we're both entrepreneurs, so he doesn't know about any of us having a job per se. So this is going to be really interesting to see what his thoughts mature into as he gets older.
Well, I'd like to first say that it's good to see young people such as yourself making an impact on our community. I'm older than you are, probably at least two times, maybe 2.5 times. I'd like to discuss is voting. How do you think, or what ideas do you have that we can start motivating our people to vote? I sit on the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee as an alternate delegate for District 18. And let me be perfectly clear, audience. White people in white neighborhoods, they have clean parks. They have clean streets. They have very little, if any, crime and violence, etc., etc., etc. They vote. Politicians are afraid if they don't clean the parks, if they don't address crime issue, if they don't address blight issue, etc., 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 then the people in those neighborhoods, in those communities, in those cities, they will vote them out. What, and you're young, Tasemere, tell our audience, what can we say or do more that can get these young people off their butt and get them involved in politics, get them on the Community Police Advisory Board, get them on neighborhood watches, get them involved in economic development? Help me out here so that this old guy can know what you young people are thinking. Thank you, Tasemere.
So I think this is like a segment all in itself to handle my thoughts, but I'll try to keep them like cohesive. One, I think that as Black people across the diaspora, we have to stop being aligned to certain parties, and we need to vote in our best interest. And so when I say that Black people are traditionally Democrats, and we need to start reevaluating why we are part of certain parties, right? And we need to start really voting on the issues that impact our life and not necessarily on party lines. That's number one. That might be an unpopular opinion, but that's the first thing that I think. The second thing that I think is that in order to get more young people involved in politics, I think we need to start speaking the value of what that means outside of voting, right? So when I was working as an urban planner in Harlem and Brooklyn and the Bronx, you learn that neighborhood development is what really impacts your everyday life. Yes, like the president and the senator and the congressperson, they also impact your life. But if you're talking about why don't you have access to certain amenities, that's a neighborhood concern, right? And so in order to get your thoughts around what you think should happen and how you want this to be part of the vision for your neighborhood, you need to speak up and like say, this is what I want, right? And we have different ways to do that. And so maybe that's having Facebook channels, YouTube channels, Instagram, TikTok, whatever that turns out to be. And then I also think that there needs to be a re-education of politics. This is something that really isn't taught in our school system, to be quite honest. I mean, you learn about U.S. government and the different branches of government, but you don't necessarily learn like how to be an active citizen. Right, until like these issues start mattering to you. And I think over the past few elections, you probably had the most numbers of young people that were tuning into different debates and really trying to ask questions. But I think that we just have to get back to, like, I'm jealous of SNCC. I'm jealous that there was like, in the 60s and then the 50s, there was this whole SNCC concept that was really like getting young people involved in politics and understanding how this machinery works. And then I'm jealous of the Black Panther Party, right? Another group that was there that was definitely like trying to get the message out. And I think that since then, we haven't had another group. I mean, I know people like to say Black Lives Matter, but when you go on their website to read their actual stance, you start to learn that it's less about Black people, right? So I think that we need to like find these different places that can really start educating younger folks on what the value is in voting, how should we approach voting, how should we think more innovatively around our issues as Black people across the diaspora, because I think that America has done a really great job of making race and immigration simultaneously for Black people. So we'll say like, okay, I am from an African country, or I'm from South America, or I'm from a Caribbean island, and so therefore I don't identify as Black, right? And so it's easy to like split us apart because we don't understand the transatlantic slave trade, that we're all the same people, right? And we get confused with these concepts of race versus immigration. And I think that we need to start breaking that down a bit more, because things can easily turn into an immigrant conversation and not a racial conversation. And so I think that there's a lot of propaganda that has happened. And I think that it's going to take some really radical people to try to break through the noise of getting folks to think more critical about the world that we live in when we're talking about America, and when we're talking about voting, being even more courageous around the different issues that affect young people. I'm a young person that is impacted by student loans. I feel that it's unfair, right? The amount of debt that young people come out with owning, and sometimes you don't even go into that particular career because the corporation or the organization that you want to work with says, okay, yeah, it's super cool that you have this bachelor's degree or you have this master's degree, but we also want 7 years of experience. There's no way that someone who's just graduating college, who went straight from high school and they're not an adult learner, is going to have 7 years worth of experience on top of a degree. And so I think that we have to radically change economics, right? Because it's hard for you to make a living.
Tasemere, let me stop you right there. That's poppycock about the 7 years, 5 years, 2 years experience. I've worked at some of the biggest corporations, 500 companies in America, in the world. And let me just tell you this: when they want them little get in to have a job, they don't ask for that. So they say that to exclude you. I worked for companies where they had mass murderers, big dope kingpin. But if a brother came in there with one parking ticket, they say, oh no, we can't hire them. So the system is designed to make sure that people of color, specifically young people, either cannot, will not, or shall not get that good paying job. Go be, that's what they really want. So I hear you when you say that they want that experience, but by design to exclude people of color, specifically Black men and women, out of these jobs. So I want to clear that up right there. Second, I admire you, and I say that respectfully and humbly. You started a business, and tell our audience a little bit about your business.
So I started my company in 2017. I am one of, and I'm not saying this because it's me, I am a premier business strategist. I work with businesses to start, expand, and grow. I work with them to think about their business plans, their revenue models, and really how to strategically plan the growth of their business. And so I do that. I've been in economic development for 10 years and counting, but I've been an entrepreneur since 2017.
Now, what exactly, who is your target demographic, people who you target your business to?
So I'll tell you who my customers are. My customers are Black folks. My customers are primarily Black entrepreneurs who are working a full-time job and maybe doing a side hustle, and they're trying to figure out how do they transition and start their own business. Those are the folks that I traditionally work with, and we work on the business plan. That's my core service that I offer, is thinking through the business plan and how does that work. As you hear, Elijah is adding extra things in because he has been doing this for his entire life, so he's probably adding in something that I've missed. But I work with them on strategy, on revenue models, on partnerships, collaborations, and then I also refer them to other Black professionals, mainly that can help them with branding, marketing, PR, website development, app development, the gamut of different services that you need when you're running a business.
Can I ask you, why do you only target? But why is that?
Wait, I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat that?
Why do you business to Black people?
Oh, well, that's simple. I'm Black. That's simple. I mean, my experience is a very Black experience. The way that I think about what I do is very Black. These are people that I can relate to. Not to say that I wouldn't work with others, but when I work with people, whether they're clients or partners, freelancers, or something like that, 1 second, Elijah is acting very uncorporate. Like, when I work with other people from other backgrounds, I definitely understand my perspective. Is that I am, in my own way, trying to close the racial and economic gap of Black people in the pipeline of Black economics to the best of my ability. So even if I'm working with someone that's not Black, I'm still going to refer them to a Black expert. And they know that, right? And so I try to choose people that also aren't trying to pirate off of Black culture. because that also happens a lot. Like you'll have people that say that they want to work with Black folks, but they just want the culture to sound like they're cool. So really screening folks to make sure that their values align with my values.
Well, and I'm glad you. Can you elaborate a little bit on people try to pirate and get rich off the Black culture, and there is white? Can you elaborate on that? Because it's disheartening to me to see some guy come out here and all cool and hip hop ham, but then when he goes home to his neighborhood, he or she are totally different. But they use the Black dollar because everybody in the world knows Black people spend their money. Black people is a huge part. So elaborate. Hello?
Well, I think that again, these are really good questions, Doug. I feel like the way that this happens is culture, really. Black folks across the diaspora of Black people, we create culture. We make things cool. We innovate. We are creative. We're everything that people always want, right? So and we are sometimes a very difficult market to reach. But you know that if you reach Black folks, you can probably reach any other demographic that you're going after, right? And so understanding that our culture is our value, the way that we talk, the way that we walk, the way that we dress, the music that we listen to, the food that we eat, the places that we go to, all of this that we do is our culture. And our culture is vast, right? Because of the transatlantic slave trade, we have Black people from everywhere, right? So you can really get in and understand nuances of Black folks. So this is what makes us very interesting. In addition to that, we are very trendy. So if you can make something work in a Black group that's trending, it's likely to spread like wildfire, right? And other groups are going to want to do that dance, buy that food, go to that place, get that service, or whatever the case may be. So what I attempt to do is to make sure that when I am working with other folks, that they have an understanding of my position around the Black community and how I work with them. If they fall in line and they're down for what I'm down for, and they get my methodology and my ideology, that's cool. If they don't, that's also cool. That just means that I'm not the person for them to have conversations with. I'm not the person for them to do business with, because I'm just not going to be a sellout, right? That's just not going to happen. I keep myself accountable, but I also have a village that also keeps me accountable, right? And to think about my impact of what I'm doing and how is that a service or a disservice to the overall advancement of Black folks.
Let me ask you, motivate you as a Black woman? What motivates you as a Black woman to do what you're doing? Because I see our young Black sisters are really even at different ages, but and I'm a Black man, so I won't seem racist saying it, but some of them appear to be outshining and outpacing our Black men. What motivates you as a young sister to keep propelling and excelling? And how can we ignite more passion in our young African American men that will get them in the game, or get more of them in the game? Thank you.
So for me, I think it's probably a soup of different things. To get personal, I feel like it's my parents. To get educational, I feel like it's my background in history. So on a personal level, my parents are older, of course. They're in their early 70s, and I really can see the impact of slavery on my parents and the ways that they do certain things. And to be fully transparent, my mom did not graduate from high school and my dad is a functional illiterate. So those are impacts right there. And those things are definitely stemming from slavery, Great Migration, and just moving from different places trying to make earnings, right? So that was one of my factors, was just like, I got to do it. I have to do better. I want better. It's not that I want to, it's not that I'm trying to do it for someone. I'm just trying to continue to reinvent myself and hold myself accountable to being the best that I'm going to be with whatever I do. But on an educational level is when you have been trained to be a thinker, it's hard to be a zombie, right? Is when you have been trained to say, like, I'm going to learn how to think my way through this situation, through this element, because I have to, and no one else is going to come save me, and understanding that no one will come save you. You have to figure it out for yourself. It holds you to a different stance of saying, I have to figure this out. No one is going to come behind me and say, whoa, is me, and just do things for me, right? Maybe that might happen, but it's very unlikely that it will. And so I come from a background of like, think your way out of a situation, coupled with education. And I've been really blessed to have different mentors, and they have become family that have stepped in and showed me different things, because I have always had the ambition to wanting to try to be my personal best. It's not whatever anybody else thinks the best is, it's what my personal best is going to be, and really learning that I have all the tools in my person to do what I need to do. And so I'm
Well,
not someone that's afraid to ask for help. And I often will say, help me do this. I don't know how to do this, but I want to do it the best way that I can. And so those are just my ambition. It isn't my, a lot of people say their mom, their dad, their children. For me, it's just like, it's really me. I just want to be the best for me and myself. And if that impacts people around me, that's even better.
Well, I want to say you have been a beacon of light. You have been a shining star in the sky from what I've heard of what you've done and what I see that you're doing, and continue to do that. I also want to piggyback off of what you said as it relates to you being a Black woman. You had to do it, and you had good mom and dad. The system, as we know, and we can look all across this country and see our young Black boys and adolescent teenagers being brutalized by the white regime, who continuously, and I use the word continuously, incarcerate our Black men, kill our Black men. In schools, they want to tell our Black boys that they're ADA. What's your thoughts on that, being a young person? Thank you.
I think we need a build. I think we need to buy back the prisons. I shared that with Marsha earlier. I think that, I had a really enlightening conversation with a gentleman that I will be interviewing on Saturday at 10:15 Eastern on the Blackout Live from New York. And we talked about
hearing and say it again.
So if you didn't hear it the first time, the Blackout Live from New York, every Saturday on this network, streaming live 10:15 a.m. Eastern, we had a really great conversation around how can we change stuff? Like, we go out, we protest, we yell, we scream, and then there's no plan, and then somebody does something, and then we go back out, we protest, and we yell, and we scream, and we just keep repeating. And we're asking people for seats at their tables. How dope would it be if people put their money together and bought a prison and just changed the policy? And then we wouldn't have to be sitting here talking about all the sentencing, all the policing, all the correction officer, all the treatment, because if we own the prison, we can dictate what's going to happen in that prison, right? If we own the school, we can dictate how that school is going to run. If we own these institutions that we know weren't designed for us to really take part in it, then we bought our seat at the table. So now we can just say, like, we don't like that. We own 70 shares of this company. We don't like that. Stop. Or we're gonna fire you, right? Like, that's how I think at this point we have tried to play nice in the sandbox, and we have asked, humbly, can I get all these degrees and prove myself to have a seat at your table, and maybe you might listen to me. That I think that now we need to just start buying the table. We just need to go and just buy the table and just say, like, now I'm the new owner, and we have a grand new opening of this prison, and this is what we're going to do moving forward. And either you're going to get on board with what we want, or you're not, right? I think for politics, we need to start identifying our own candidates that identify with what we want, and we need to put money behind that person, and not a little bit of money, not $5, not $10, not $1,000. We need to get some major funding, and we need to start running our own candidates for real, for real. Like, we need to just stop trying to play nice and thinking that people are going to respect that. I think that we need to just identify people. I mean, people talk about drug dealers all the time. I see them as entrepreneurs. How many people will get somebody off the block and let him run his own business and see how that's going to turn around? Because he got to be doing something right if he got clientele. I'm just saying. I think that we need to start being creative and thinking about how are we going to make a system that is intentional about not giving us our fair due and make it work for us. And eventually, if we buy enough of the system, we can change it from a high level. But we're never going to get anywhere asking for people to play nice with us, because it wasn't designed for us to be a part of in the first place, which is why I love Donnie Glover, because he is definitely like, say it all and say it loud. And we need to start building back Black-centric communities, and we need to start changing the narrative. We already know what the narrative is, what everybody thinks about Black men, about Black women, but I would love to start seeing us just letting that propaganda die. And let's talk about all the greatness that we have, because there's a lot that we do really well. And if we start focusing on that and putting out more positive messages around what we do well, how we work well with others. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about Black folks killing each other, but I see a lot of Black folks supporting each other too.
Tasemere, let me stop. That is the component that you said, and everything else has been just top of the line. But the message that white media wants to put out there is that our Black boys and our Black teenagers are out there selling drugs and shooting each other up and not going to school. They do not want to focus on the many Black young people who are doing great things out there. And that is what our young people are fed up with. Malcolm X said this over 50 years ago. Media is the most powerful entity in the world. And white people have harnessed that power to subdue our young people. A lot of our sisters and brothers are getting past that. But what are your thoughts on media and specifically what we do? We are on the same network. We're on Black USA. We preach positiveness. We preach owning your own. We preach Don't listen to that stupid white man who's so ignorant and unintelligent that he wants us to be as ignorant and unintelligent as he/she is, especially under this Trump regime crap. So please articulate in young people layman terms how media, to an old guy like me, how media is going to positively affect, especially what you watch. Audience, I want you to listen to this.
So
You
I
need,
think
you need to listen to black media more so than white media. White media is designed to make our young people in their mind, just like in the 60s, 70s when they had Barbie and Ken, the blonde haired, blue-eyed white girl, or the little white boy, G.I. Joe. So, Kashmir, clarify this in young people so our young people can hear what's going on, and the older people can possibly use some of these strategies to motivate and influence our young brothers and sisters to start watching black media. Thank you.
so. I think that media is a tool used to get a message across. The same way that we use Instagram with a photo and a caption and some hashtags, right? So it's all about like what message are you trying to get across and what your interests are. You know, like I'm someone that likes hair. So when I'm on my Instagram, I get a lot of feeds about people doing a lot of different kind of installs and makeup and all of this other kind of stuff. And so you're going to gravitate towards the media that fills you up, right? Like this is what your interests are. This resonates with you. This is something that you enjoy. So if all you do is hear negative things about you and your community, you start to believe that that's the reality, and that's probably the only reality, right? You don't really think outside of that because like why would this outlet be lying to you? But most outlets get money off of viewership, so maybe it's beneficial for them to lie to you, you know, because they're trying to get ratings. So I think that, you know, with new technology, new platforms that's out there, you have, but this all goes back to the ability to think, which most people do not like to think. You just have to think, why is someone telling this to me, and is there another side of the story, right? Because that's all the history is. History for me was like a conversation. I was thinking about it from like a drama. Somebody did this to this person and this person did this to this other person. It's like the telephone game, right? You probably won't get to the bottom of what really truly happened, but you'll get a better understanding of the storyline being fed to you. And so when you start approaching that by like asking questions of like, why are they saying this, what they didn't say this other thing over here, that goes with any media outlet. And you just want to start viewing the stuff that most makes you feel good. I don't know why it would make you feel good to watch, you know, people talking about you negatively. Why would you want to tune into that? But if that's what you like, then keep doing that. If that's not what you like and not what you're into, then try to find other outlets, whether it is a paper, like reading. I think we need to get back into like actually reading more. If it's videos, if it's live, if it's international, that's another thing that I've learned is that Americans in general, we aren't very internationally educated. We don't really take time to understand what's going on outside of our radius. And we need to start doing that because this is going to impact our economics, the businesses that we think about building, the people that we think about gravitating towards. We need to just broaden our thoughts a bit and start looking at other networks. And blackusa.news is one network that you can definitely tune into. There's many different perspectives from across the nation around topics that influence Black folks. I don't know what happened to Doug. I think we lost him again. Marsha, our other co-host, is getting Donnie back so we can get back to the Black Wall Street Awards. Right now, you're looking at me, Tasemere, the host of the Blackout Live from New York, but we are here live today about the Black Wall Street reunion of 10 years of Donnie Glover searching for Black entrepreneurs across the nation. He's been to places like New York, Atlanta, Birmingham, Tulsa, Las Vegas, and of course his home state, Maryland, giving out these awards to different entrepreneurs and also other people that support them. He's been recognizing their efforts. I think we have Doug back. Doug, you must have dropped off from Doug. We got to get you stationary. We're on the road. We're on the road with you now. Doug is streaming in from Oakland right now, out in LA. How is it in LA? I've never been. How is it? Do you love it? Do you like it? I think I like the weather, but I've never been.
Well, my daughter, she took her post studies to get her master's degree in LA, and the traffic is horrific. It's terrible, and I like the Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area, because this is the Pacific Rim gateway for Oakland. Has airplanes, they have transportation, train, buses, trucks, everything is right here local. And my 58 years living in Oakland, I found it having so much opportunity here. But on the flip side of that, now we have an executive elected administrative system here that has gone back as far as Jerry Brown to move people of color out of the city of Oakland, take the land, just like they did in San Francisco, from Black people to where we are on the outskirts of all this economic growth and development. Give you a good example. I don't know if you watched the show, but we have a issue here in Oakland where they're trying to create a fairyland ballpark for the Fisher family, who owns the Oakland A's, that would displace a lot of jobs down there at the port. And when I say displace a lot of jobs, there are there's a ILWU, International Longshore. If these were white men jobs, it would be an uproar. There would be no way they would allow that. But because the ILWU, International Longshore and Warehouse, they make anywhere between $100 and $300+ thousand a year. So if you displace all these great paying jobs and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with working at concession stands and doing cleanup and other things what the ballpark will bring. But this is generational jobs that created generational wealth. Fathers passed their books, their longshore and warehouse union books down to their sons and to their nephews. So why would you want to destroy that economic engine of good paying jobs right here in the Bay Area? It's called gentrification. If you, Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area is one of the most expensive places in the, not just you don't keep
I think we lost Doug again. He's going to log back in. I was going to share that I recently watched a documentary around Skid Row. All this time I thought Skid Row was a made up place out of ignorance. But I just learned that Skid Row is an actual place in, I want to say, LA, that is like a homeless encampment. And there's a lot of people there that live, I don't even know the street is, but they live in tents. And they have to vacate at a certain time for them to clean the street, and then they come back. And it's a whole really big neighborhood, and it's everyday people sometimes that just cannot afford the rent out out in California. They have to move out and just live on the street. And so that was new to me because I thought that Skid Row ignorantly was just, a term that people used. I didn't know that it was an actual community. I think that we have Doug back. Let's bring him back up.
All
Hey,
right.
Doug, you're back.
Thank you. Okay, I think I left off at destroying the Black economic and development and the uh, gentrification process that is happening in true time here in Oakland, California.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me be clear so that the audience and even the hearing impaired can understand this. Every time they do a study anywhere in this world, whether it be health, economics, housing, Black people are on the bottom of everything. And I've even had a friend recently say, and I'm sure he probably didn't mean it the way he said it, but because it is embedded into the fibers of most.
Hold on, guys. We lost Doug. Brought him back up. Sorry, Doug. We lost you for a second.
Okay, it's embedded in the fibers of this country to where you want to put it in Black people's mind. Oh, you don't know how to invest money or save money. And when I called them to check on that, they would go, "Well, I didn't mean it like that." You meant it the way you said it. And don't get me wrong, I know what you meant and what you said, but white people from the time that they come into this world are taught you are better than Black people, you're smarter than Black people, you come from generational wealth. And Malcolm X said it, and I use him as a good example. Malcolm X said it best. When white people sit down and see how brutally and horrific and terrible they've treated people of color, Black people in general, they are afraid that if Black people hold them accountable, then they'll treat them the same. But our genetics will not get us to do that. We want to move forward, but we don't want to, we want to forgive, but we can't forget. Critical, what is that? What they're trying to keep out of school, the critical race theory. That would lay out the whole scheme of how white people became rich, how they kept generational wealth going, how they raped our women, our men, cut them down, whether it be hanging them and then having a picnic, and the kids and the parents would take pieces of that dead body home after they hung them and burned their body as a memorabilia of we are the supreme race. And until white people want to deal with that fact, white people want to deal with that there is a serious mindset that they don't intentionally want to have, but they're taught to have that mindset. That's why, and I'll say this, and I'll let you go back and talk, but that's why they want to be in charge of everything that we do. They don't want us to have anything because they don't want us to think for ourselves. Then they say, well, if they really realize how bad we've treated the black people, they may think, they may try to flip the script. We don't want to flip a script. We just we want things to be fair. We want to have opportunity to good health. We want to have clean neighborhoods. We want to have good schools and education. We want to have economic growth. We're tired of you running our businesses out of Oakland, and I'll use Oakland as a perfect example. And the mayor of Oakland may not like what I'm going to say, but she led the charge almost 8 to 10 years ago when she decided, oh, well, we're not going to do any more good faith contracting in Oakland. We're going to go for giving them developer property for $99 for tens of $1 million project. Why don't you give it to a black person? Call it reparation. Let us build. Let us have generational wealth. Let us build our base economics up. But until we start addressing that issue, then we're going to put the smoke and mirror up, or let me rephrase that. They are going to put the smoke and mirror up and say, hey, you people, that was a long time ago. You need to get over that. How can you get over 400 years? 400 years. 400 years. Thank you. Tasemere, what's your perspective as a young person on that? And that's what young people talk to me about many, many, many times. They think stupid like our great-grandparents and our great-great-grandparents. I'm not a Toby, and I'm not running. Our brothers and sisters have a whole new mindset now. What's your opinion on that, Tasemere? Yeah, let it go, girl.
It's like a really, really deep conversation. I think that we have to, again, just think, I had the pleasure of having a conversation with my my advisor in undergrad around slavery and why is slavery so bad when it comes to Black people in America. And, we had a conversation around, slavery was something that had happened before it even came here with Black folks, right? And even when you think about in different African countries, forms of slavery was happening there too. But what made it so horrific in American slavery was that there was no way to get out. Right. In other places, you could, buy your way out. We have this concept of having free Black folks. But if someone just said like, hey, that person is my slave, then you were just going to go back into slavery. So there was really no way for you to escape. That's why it is so bad. In America, a lot of our institutions were birthed through keeping Black folks enslaved. And I shared this with Marsha around policing, around education, around transportation, around health. It was to keep you in a state where you didn't really have access. So again, when we are talking about getting access into certain industries that were designed to never give us access, we are essentially hustling backwards, right? We think that because we have PhDs and master's degrees, yes.
Say that again. Can I use that word?
We are hustling backwards, okay? We think that because we have PhDs, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, that gives us equality at the table. And I think more and more people are starting to learn that having this piece of paper that basically says that you took courses, you have the intellectual ability to perform certain tasks, is not enough to get you a seat at the table or to exercise a voice, right? You are there to exercise a particular kind of voice. And once that voice is no longer there or you're no longer compliant, then you will be replaced with someone else. And that is why entrepreneurship is something that I think should be celebrated amongst our community of Black folks, because this is one of the ways in which you can have a voice of your own. You're not going to fire yourself, right? But I think one of the things that we have to get clear about is, how do we build sustainable businesses? How do we build legacy businesses? How do we start thinking about having a public company, going public? How do we think about shares, investment? How do we think about having succession plans? Those are things that we can't just start a business and not think on these other levels that's going to keep this business going when we're no longer here, right? We have to start really thinking about how are we investing, the conversations that we're having. We need to start reading books, and we need to start really meeting people with purpose, right? Like, if you don't know about investment, find somebody that can teach you. If you don't know about succession planning, hire a financial advisor. We need to really start
Let me say this real quick.
building strategically.
Let me just say this real quick. Glad you brought that up. Our Black businesses, unlike white businesses or Asian businesses, we need to start hiring people who are capable and competent, not hiring cousin Tuki and cousin Mookie, and then they get in there and mess it up because they're not qualified to and have the skills to do the work. One thing I know about Asian business, they know who can. They know who can read and who can't, and they base their business model on that. And I say that for a reason, because when Black businesses can't count that money, can't do the taxes, can't put a business plan together like what your business does, then that you're already at a disadvantage before you even get into the game. So please break that out for us, such that this audience understands that even though you got a son that you love or daughter that you adore, if they can't or write or arithmetic, then you put them something that will better suit them, but you get the right person in that position that will make you vulnerable for help you successful.
Well, I think that this is one of the reasons why the Black Wall Street Awards is important, and the work that Donnie is doing is important. And we remember Tulsa, but Tulsa wasn't the only community that had a thriving Black economic engine of Black folks running their own things. And I think that there's lots of learnings that we can do from other groups. Other groups that start businesses, they're looking on how they are going to do the first seed of funding to spur another business, whether it's their child's business or their cousin or a friend, but they are, saying, what other piece of this industry is missing? I'm going to do this piece, and then you do that piece, and then we're going to refer to each other. That's unspoken, that's an unspoken rule for most people. We need to start basically really putting our pen to paper and thinking. And I say this often, some of us do not like the exercise of thinking. We like the exercise of just tell me what to do and I'll just do it. But the challenge with that is that if that person gets hit by a bus and they are no longer here and they've been the person that has been telling you what to do, then you don't know what to do when they're no longer here. And we have to start, understanding that we have the power to do these things in our own selves. And if it's really a limitation, then interviewing people that can help teach you. The key word is teach you how to do it, right? Or interview people that you can oversee and really step into leadership roles to understand that I have a financial advisor. I got out of my own way and said, okay, I know that if I'm going to really think about legacy. And we throw words around and we don't really think about the meaning that it has. Legacy is something that is going to last when you're no longer here, right? If you are not thinking about how is something going to last when you're no longer here, you are not building a legacy business, right? A legacy business has to include a succession plan. So what's going to happen when you're no longer here? How is this business going to operate? What's gonna happen? If you're thinking that someone in your family is just gonna pick it up and run with it, you're sorely mistaken. It's probably likely going to just be sold. And if it is gonna be sold, what the heck is that buy-sell agreement gonna look like? These are things that people have expertise in that can help you start thinking through on a better level of how you really going to secure the bag, right? Like how are you really going to set your family up if you do have children? I dispel the myth that Black people don't have trust funds. I think we can build trust funds for our children. I think that it's just a matter of meeting with a financial advisor, figuring out how much money you can probably stash aside, even if it's $10, $20, something, and develop some sort of fund for your kids. I'm not buying the rhetoric that this is something that can't happen or it only happens with white folks. To me, those are antiquated thoughts, right? I'm on the thought of how do I propel things forward in my immediate community, and what am I saying? And I think that we have to start bringing investment into the conversation more, bringing money into the conversation more, bringing entrepreneurship into the conversation a bit more, because that's what's going to help us to economically be better.
I'm glad you said all those great things, because one of the things that I found to be critical that we don't do, we when we make it, first thing we want to do is move to a white community instead of improving the community that we live in. But a lot of that have to do with and motivating and talking to our young people about voting, about going to the city council meeting and engaging, knowing what measures and issues affect your direct neighborhood and community, going to police commission meetings. Like I serve as a community policing on the community policing advisory board, going to your monthly political party meetings and understanding who is out there representing you. A lot of young people can't even tell you who their city council member is, who the mayor is, who the county supervisors are, who the assembly people are. These and not only who they are, but what they do. They play pivotal roles in our community to bring in jobs, to fight for jobs, to bring in good health at hospitals, to bring in school, to foster measures and promote measures politically that can either bring money into our community or not. And we started earlier on that, but I want to bring this conversation back around to that, because we really do not understand. And I say we, Black people, people of color, why it is so important to go once a month to your school board meeting, your Democratic meeting, to your police meeting. Listen to what the mayor is saying and what they are not saying. How can we, because you seem, I'm listening to you. Sister, you have got your head together. And I'm thoroughly impressed. What can you say that, and I know you can say a lot, I've been listening, that can encourage young people below 40 years old, people under 40? How can we encourage them to get involved, to understand who the politicians are? Our people would rather go to a concert, to a picnic, versus going to go vote. How do we change that scenario? How do we change that image? And let me just tell you, white people know that. White people say just put a concert on the same day as the voting, and you'll watch what happens. They're gonna go to the concert and skip voting. When President Barack Obama came in, we were so excited that the voting turnout was just staggering. How do we get that type of excitement back? And you, as a young sister, what can you tell our audience? Or what can you say to our audience? And what can you tell me to say each time I'm on every Thursday, 4 o'clock Pacific Standard, 7 o'clock Eastern? What can I say that can get them to start thinking? Thank you.
Well, I think you got to meet people where they are, right? I think that there's different types of young people. There's types of young people that are busy. Like the truth of the matter is that like what I'm doing right now with my son on me and doing this is something that moms and dads around the world are doing, right? They're busy. Their minds are all over the place. And a lot of people are in survival mode. They're just trying to figure out how I'm going to keep the lights on, how I'm going to pay my rent, and how am I going to feed my kids, right? At the very bare minimum. So when you have a lot of different media demands on people to say, pay attention to this and then pay attention to that and go here and then go there and then do this and then do that, people are just consumed. Not to mention, like we won't even talk about it, but the vaccine mandate is another thing that people are consumed about, right? Do I get it? Do I not get it? Do I get my kids to get it? Do I not? Like, what am I going to do? There's a lot of different things that I think that people are just overwhelmed with trying to figure out like their place in the world. So I think we have to give some people some grace, right? Because I think one of the tactics that I would say is like, if you know that there's going to be a concert, probably put up voter registration at a concert. Like put it up at the Beyonce concert, put it up at the Kanye concert, put it up at the Mumble Bumble concert with the new rappers. I don't know, but like I think that if you really want to get people to get out and do something, you got to meet them where they are. They aren't coming, so you already know that. So trying to get them to come to what you're doing again is like hustling backwards because they ain't coming. So you got to go to where they're going to, right? You gotta finesse your way in the spaces where they already are, and then figure out like what's gonna draw them in, right? Like what to say, what that messaging is gonna look like. I think that you do have young people that do want to participate in politics, but they're a little discouraged, right? Like maybe they felt like they voted for a politician and then the politician got in and they didn't really do what they were supposed to do. And I'll be fully transparent. I was debating on whether I was going to vote in the presidential election. I was one of those holdouts. I ultimately did vote, but I considered not voting because I wanted to protest. I was like, I don't want to vote for these people. I don't like none of these people. They're not talking to me. I don't want to waste my time. I already know I'm not going to get what I need and I don't want to go, right? But I winded up going, but I did consider that. And so also understanding that like sometimes people are withholding their vote because it just ain't nobody speaking for them. So that is on us again to run people that relate to our needs and our thoughts. And I think for people that don't know their elected officials, I think that that's on both people. I think the elected officials is not making themselves known enough for people to want to know what's going on with them and being very secluded. I think that we still live in a place that's like, I'm judging you based on how you look and what you wear and how you talk. And if you don't fit into my boxes, I don't really want to deal with you. Or if I don't feel like I can use you for something, I don't really want to deal with you, right? And then I think it's also on us as just citizens to just want to know some information, right? Just wanting to be able to have something to talk about or to positively say. But I want to say that I think millennials, you probably have lost us already. I think the people to look towards is like Gen Z, and they are very active. They don't hold no punches. They're gonna give it straight to you, no chaser. But I think that people have to get used to the fact that sometimes they like to talk in emojis, and that's also fine. So I think you just gotta constantly learn the new language. I love the Gen Z. I'm trying to figure out how I get some of their energy because they are a lot more fearless. They're a lot more demanding. They're a lot more, thinking about themselves first. I feel as a millennial, I still have some older ways of like, no, that might not be accepted. The Gen Zs are like, bump that. I'm coming up like how I'm coming at you, and that's just going to be it. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot of different changes. And I also think there's a lot of biracial mixed cultured people that are going to continue to keep, as we keep mixing cultures together, we're going to definitely get some kind of, I don't know, other conversations going around what's happening. Maybe we'll get there. I don't know.
Well, I want to, since you brought that up, I've been noticing on mainstream TV that they're showing many, many white men marrying black women. I don't like that because the image that they're creating is that black woman, if you want to get a good man, go find a white man. I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. And I'm tired of seeing it. So I want to just say out there for our people who are of color, black men and women, and to media, stop portraying on these commercials that if you want to marry and have a good life, you get a white guy. I'm sick of it.
Well, Doug, when I was in the dating pool, I will say some of our brothers just don't step up. I mean, they're just sorry. I don't know if what's going on with them sometimes. Sometimes they just do not step up. And I think that sometimes, to be quite honest with you, I think that some black women are like, I want to settle down. I want to start a family. And if I'm not going to get it from this black guy, then I'm just going to, I'm going to cross over and I'm gonna just look somewhere else, and maybe I'll be lucky there. Because some women really do get and I used to think that this was like a myth, but some women do start feeling the pressure of having kids in their 30s, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm in my 30s, I'm single, when am I gonna date? How am I gonna get married? How am I going to do this thing? And sometimes dating, like the fellas, just the black dudes, they just not there sometimes. They everywhere except for the place that you need them to be. So sometimes you just cross over. I didn't do that, right? I went to another continent. I was like, all right, maybe my African American men can't get it together. Maybe I need to look at Africa. But I don't think, but that also poses other challenges around culture, around customs, around traditions, around like gender dynamics too. When you start like getting into other cultures. So I think, the black men, y'all just gotta step up, or else, black women, they might not be here for the long run for you. They might, go someplace else. Another one that you didn't mention is a lot of black women are starting to date Asian men. So wait till you see that one. Wait till you see that coming to light in different like marketing materials and things like that. That's another trend that is starting to happen as well. Because black women, they ain't here for it. They're like, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna do it.
Uh,
They're just like, I'm not gonna do it. And I don't have to because I can just, go somewhere else. I really fought my sisters for that. I'm like, you know what? I knew I couldn't do it because I was like, I'm just so black that Black History Month. If I'm with somebody that's not black, I might catch a domestic violent case because I might just punch them because I'm
Ta-
just like remembering something from my ancestors. So I knew that I was not the one to do
Ta-
that.
Tashmere, listen. I'm not knocking it. I'm saying that media, white media, it promotes it. That's all I'm saying. On these commercials, different things, they try to portray black men, and yeah, there are some issues, but there's several um, supporting documentation that will that has created a weaker black male. Once again, when a young black man has one problem with one teacher in the school, then they want to classify him and put him on drugs. 80, oh, he needs Ritalin. Or or these white redneck cops want to uh, uh, give our black men jackets. I was one of those black men back in the 70s that um, I had the blessings, and I've been on the show, of having an uncle who was a lawyer who fought for me, but if it had not been for that, I would have a jacket. The system, and not all white people, but a lot of them, they want to destroy the black man, displacing the black family, creating generational kids, specifically black boys, who mama raised them and wimp them out. Oh, that little junior, let him slide. Versus, I'm gonna just tell you, my daddy, I was more afraid of my father than the police. I
So
was
what is your message? What
if
is
I
your message to black men? What can black men do
step up,
to, but
step up,
how? How do they step up?
step up. And what I mean by that, start taking care of your kids. Start reading. Go to school. Get a trade. Stop. Get off these corners and stop trying to be a big Willie to your friend and be a big brother to your community. Be a leader in your community. Get involved. Go to learn the politics in your community. Understand what the police are doing by going to city council meeting. If you do these things, you will get involved and you won't have time to be caught up in going to jail. Because I can assure you, if you were at these political functions, you were at the community city council meeting, the neighborhood council meeting, the Democratic council meetings, you're getting people to vote. The police are not going to harass you there because, first off, you'll be like a fly in milk. They'll be like, "Oh, that's John. We know what he's about because he's the only black." When I first got into dealing with politics and the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, was because my ex-lawyer, Pamela Price, she brought me in. And one of the things I was one of the only, no, wait a minute, there was one other brother out of 60 people on the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee. And let me be clear, most of the white people there were not helpful showing me about politics and teaching me different things. There were some really good ones who got involved and were teaching me, but they don't want black people, specifically black men, to know. They want you to be ignorant. They like seeing you on the corners causing mayhem, doing donuts in the street. But until black men wake up and start getting involved in their community, being big brothers, educating their mind, getting off these drugs, quit drinking and doing stupid stuff, then yeah, there's going to be a deficit of good black men. And we're working with less than 5 minutes. Tasemere, can you give us, can you take us on home with what you would suggest being a sister who has her stuff together? How could our young black men entice, encourage, motivate, infiltrate, be good fathers, be a good husband, be a good community person? What what can you tell our audience? What can you say, you being in that age group, that they can do, that they can be more of an asset to our community instead of a liability? Thank you.
Um, Doug, you asked some really tough questions. You know that? I would say that one, and before they can be assets to us, they first have to be assets to themselves. But let's say you got to the point and you feel like you got some of your stuff together. I think it's just showing up. I think it's showing up, and I think the first step is listening, and then the third step is deciding like what can you do about it. And that doesn't have to be everything. I'm not saying like try to take on everything. That can just be, own like one simple thing can be I listened to you, I heard what you said, and this is what I'm going to do, and just following through on that one thing that you said that you were going to follow through with. I think building that kind of credibility of like I can trust you. I know that when you tell me you're going to do something, you're actually going to do it. I think that that speaks more volumes than any degrees that you can have, any amount of money, cars, whatever it is that you think are drivers. I think that that speaks more volumes to your character. And I think it really just helps to develop trust. So that's what I think Black men can do as they are trying to like navigate this whole system of many complicated things.
And I want to, that is a perfect answer. And I want to say, sisters, what you can start doing with our black men more is believing in them. Stand behind them, whether they are a janitor or the president of a company. Support your black man. When you have a good black man, support him, stand by him. Because I hear on that side, on this side, that's a problem. So, speaking from the Black Business Roundtable, Tajmir, this has been an awesome show. Having you on, recognizing what you are doing out there in New York. We want to continue this East Coast, West Coast connection and encouraging and motivating our people to stand together, united. If you notice one thing about all of the races, they stand together. Right or wrong, they stand together.
You
Tajmir?
are so right, Doug. This was great. I wish we had more eyes into this Black Wall Street reunion here. But this was the Black Street reunion, Black Wall Street reunion happening in Baltimore. Donnie is giving out some amazing awards to some Black entrepreneurs, business folks, but also people that support them for the 10th anniversary, which just coincides with also the anniversary of Tulsa in Oklahoma. I wish we had that food that they were eating. I want some catfish. Where's
Well,
Chop with my food?
well, I tell you this. I tell you this. We were New York about 2 years ago when we were checking out SBA and different programs. I want to make sure that next time we are that I'm out there, I'm gonna make sure that I get your address and your contact information, and we're gonna hook up.
Of course, I would love it. Definitely, you come into this neck of the woods, New York, New Jersey. How can you come and not hang out with me and my co-host who tends to fall asleep on the job? But I have been told by HR I'm not allowed to fire him. I can only do write-ups. But I told him we were working today, and this is how he's working.
Well, next week, Black Business Round, we will be back with Dr. Coleman, with Janani, Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology, uh, Janani Ramachandran, Esquire, our social justice warrior. Audience, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you, and I want you to remember, together we can listen, we can learn, and we can share, because I know you care. This is Doug Blackshear of the Black Business Roundtable. Thank you. God bless, and good night.
Good night, everybody.